sat down and I said, "America's back." And Mitterrand from France, looked at me and said, "You know, why? How long are you back for?"
It's President Biden confusing current French President Emmanuel Macron with former French President Francois Mitterrand. For those not up on their French history, Mitterrand died about 30 years ago. And of course, we all have forgetful moments. It just happens. But we aren't all the President of the United States, nor are we all basing our own presidential campaign on going after the other guy's mental deficiencies. Here's a Biden ad.
Last night, Trump is at a rally.
You know, Nikki Haley.
And he's going on and on mentioning me multiple times as to why I didn't handle January 6th better.
Nikki Haley is in charge of security. We offered her 10,000 people. They don't want to talk about that.
I wasn't in office then. They're saying he got confused.
You have voter ID to buy a loaf of bread. You have ID to buy a loaf of bread. What?
Colby Hall, NewsNation contributor, founding editor of Mediaite, On Balance resident philosopher with us now. Colby, can we finally have a fair conversation now about Joe Biden's age?
You know, I don't know where to begin. The American people deserve so much better from both their presidential candidates, but especially the media. You know, I looked up, there's a transcript service that gives you topics that news television covered. The Macron-Mitterrand gaffe has not been mentioned once on CNN or MSNBC. And that to me is stunning. Those networks went long on the Nancy Pelosi, Nikki Haley confusion. This is the most powerful man in the world and the leader of the free world, and he is not cogent. And this should be something that we are openly talking about all the time.
Why do you think it is? Is it that reporters are the old thing biased, or do they hate Donald Trump so much they don't want to do anything that could possibly degrade Joe Biden? Is it that the White House press corps is still holding out hope that there is hope that at some point Joe Biden might have a press conference and then they might get called on? What is it?
All of the above. I think mostly it's you know, there's people that think that it's unseemly, that, you know, a kind old doddering man, you don't sort of make fun of the kind grandpa. But the kind grandpa, you know, has his keys to the weaponry that can blow up the world. I don't think that he's, you know, gone, but he's clearly in cognitive decline. And so, too, you know, Trump is way more like when Trump does these town halls, he's really got his wits about him. But in some of his rallies, he also doesn't do much. And what's funny is MSNBC, for example, doesn't talk about the Trump gaffes because it brings attention to Biden's. And so there's this weird whistling past the graveyard. Neither of the emperors have new clothes, and American deserves so much better.
Yeah, I think you make a good point that really no one is distinguishing themselves. I think what was interesting is that it is how it is then impacting the way the White House handles things, because they are keeping President Biden, shall we say, farther and farther from view. But there are times that they have to put him out, like today, about the immigration bill. And they have these moments where they think they can put him on the teleprompter and it's going to be okay. But then he gets a question. Take a listen.
There is some movement, and I don't want to, well, maybe choose my words. There's some movement. There's been a response from there's been a response from the opposition, but yes, I'm sorry, from Hamas.
So the reporters had to prompt him that Hamas is the terror group in Gaza. This would be the question, right? The one thing you can always count on reporters to do is at some point kind of be a little ashamed or chagrined about things and almost get angry about their own issue of access. During the Trump administration, they got all bent out of shape about access and how many times the president took questions, on and on and on. And is there a point that the White House press corps is going to sort of be shamed into bringing up this issue He didn't do the Super Bowl interview. May not debate. We don't know whether he'll debate whoever the Republican nominee is. Hasn't done a network interview or any kind of press conference of substance in months. At some point, are the White House press corps going to be shamed into making this a story?
I don't think so. I think that if they were, we would be seeing that now. I will say that there are good journalists that are openly talking about Biden's age and his apparent cognitive decline. They're not talking about it 24/7 because I think that's unseemly.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.